Are you there?
Yo.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I'm good.
Alright, let me get this set up. Finally got everything working again. And... wait, why do I not see you? There. And there. What is happening? Okay. So it's not that one. Must be... there it is. Okay. There you are. All right, you about ready?
Yeah. What do we got? Yeah, sure.
I don't have to start it yet. It is set. It is ready to go whenever you are not on video until I say the word go.
Cool. Here, let me send you something real quick.
All
So
right.
there's anime. Have you ever heard of Ghost Story?
No, but for the record, they can hear us right now. They just can't see us.
Oh, they can, dude. Everyone should watch this anime, Ghost Story. So, here's the deal. I guess it was unsuccessful in Japan, so they sent it over to America, and the American dub cast were just told they couldn't change the names or the basic story, so they just did whatever the hell they wanted, and it is ridiculous. It is like an episode of South Park. It's South Park co-opted in anime. It is
Oh
the
yeah.
most ridiculous, fucking insensitive, like just ridiculous ghost stories. You can find the dub on Crunchyroll or the clips on YouTube. It is if you're easily offended, do not watch it.
That's funny. All right. Pull this up just so I can at least see us.
But if you use the subs, it's still it's an average Japanese anime. Apparently bombed over there. Sub is great.
There we go. So at least I can see stuff if people want to say hello. And get my lighting right. Nope, that's a little bright. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and go live. Hello, everybody. This is Voices from the Periphery. I'm Bishop. This is Corey.
Yeah, hello to all the bandits, mercs, and space cowboys. How y'all doing today on this ridiculously hot week?
No, it is a warm one. It is definitely warm. Whew. I'm melting this week, bro.
Yeah, perfect kind of season to get off work, sit in the air condition, and binge watch or play some stuff.
There you go. That's a great idea.
Nice.
So,
I want to go to the beach. It's hot.
dude, I've been at the beach all weekend. All weekend, every weekend, man. If I'm not out gaming, I'm out fishing.
Yeah, at least, I mean, better wear like 3 hats. An umbrella.
I just got my big Stetson that I wear out there, my straw Stetson.
Alright, man, so, actually, Bishop, you had talked to me about, trying to do something a viewer had requested, talking about, using melee weapons in mech combat, which is an interesting topic, but I kind of derailed it, more broad, which is, I want to talk about realism versus the rule of cool.
Okay.
You know, let me just use Game of Thrones as an example. Like a lot of people react because it's a very prominent thing. So like, you know, everyone was down for White Walkers and dragons and children of the forest and ravens that could deliver messages. Like, totally fine. But as soon as people started using fast travel and got from like King's Landing to the north in like 2 shots, everyone was like, "This is unrealistic. This is stupid. This is like they're breaking like so why?" And like I said, like not that I disagree with that, but like why was everyone on board with the this one thing that's completely unrealistic, but then this other aspect that's completely unrealistic they just shut down? Like, why do you think that?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest on that particular factor. I'd not really been privy to the fast travel aspect, but why do people freak out over certain things? Sometimes people want realism so that it feels more authentic. So the traveling from King's Landing to, wherever. Sometimes people want to see how hard it was to actually make that journey. It's not like, oh, this was super easy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that, but the dragons are unrealistic. Like, you're not watching a fantasy show for realism necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, you look at something like BattleTech, where, 100-ton mech is the biggest mech in the game. Well, there are exceptions, but for the basic, let's just stay standard. 100 tons is the biggest mech in the game. But in real life, 100 tons is not that much. I mean, it's a significant amount, but it's not enough for a mech to be. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I totally agree.
100 tons, regardless of whatever fiber magic you use. But everyone in the BattleTech community, more or less, ignores this fact. And BattleTech is probably one of the most realistic, tabletop games. Yet you can pick up a tree in the rules and hit someone with it. When in real life, if you hit a tank with a tree, you know what happens? The tree just destroyed, the tank keeps going because it's a tank.
You're absolutely right. I think the rule of cool here is that it's really fun to pick up the arm from one of your enemies and hit them with it. I think the practicality of it, what it really boils down to on that front is like what you said. If I hit 100-ton piece of metal with a tree, chances are I'm not going to do a hell of a lot of damage to it.
Right, but that's ingrained in the rules. I'm not even talking about. There's a whole another aspect to this too, where you're running a game like a tabletop RPG, and a player does something or you do something that's not in the framework of the rules because it's cool, and there's a balance to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Or being like as an audience, like something like Lord of the Rings, where Tolkien wrote real languages. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All the races, like the history is like a real history. Yet there's wizards and magic rings and but Tolkien fans freak out when you try to change something or like something wrong in the lore. They're so that's not Tolkien-ish, but it's all made up. It's all fantasy. So like, where do you draw the line? Where do you personally draw the line?
I don't know that there is a line, so to speak. I think that every different instance has its own lines to be drawn. If we're going to talk about your Tolkien-esque lines, I mean, like you said, he's creating languages. So really that broadens the line because he creates the line there. Now, how did he know where to keep the line to keep the fan base from uproaring? I don't know that answer. When it comes to something more like your BattleTechs, some of your other war games that people are playing, the rule of cool here, I know that in BattleTech, as unrealistic as it is, fans have always strived for realism. They want to believe that these things are going to exist, that in another life they can pilot these mechs and use them, and that's I think in every instance that's really the inherent immersion into fantasy is I want to be this thing, I want to do this thing, or at least I want to feel like I could be doing this thing, whether it's realistic or not. When it comes to BattleTech and in the melee aspect specifically, you do bring up that great point about hitting somebody with a tree. Yeah, in the rules manual, it does a specific amount of damage. In real life, it probably wouldn't do a whole hell of a lot, and the guy would probably just shoot you in the face with his Gauss rifle. You know?
Yeah, and there's other things in the rules too. And there is a big bit of difference between, like, for instance, like, what's the RPG, the BattleTech RPG, and the actual tabletop game.
Yep.
And how it's structured and the realism. But, and a certain amount of those things, such as the tonnage of mechs, infantry being able to, small arms fire being able to do damage, things like trees. There is it's structured in the rules because it has to be, not necessarily, because there's no other better way to do it. Let's put it that way. Whereas you can, and especially if you're playing against other people, obviously you all have there is no rule of cool. Usually it's just the rules, so it's fair to everybody because you're competing, you know. But so the rule of cool doesn't really apply to things like Warhammer and BattleTech and the tabletop. You just have to deal with the framework that the authors made, and they try to keep it as real as possible. And I guess we as recipients of the game or players in the game, like, just abide by their structure.
We are a bit more beholden. You're absolutely right. I think that the rule of cool, and I mean, I have my limited experience with the D&D world. I know you've got a lot more of that than I do. I mean, ultimately, I think that for anybody that doesn't fully know what we're talking about, the rule of cool here is sometimes it means bending the rules just a little bit to create a situation that is just cool, that the rules don't specifically allow. Sometimes it's bending the rules, sometimes it's even breaking the rules, and a lot of the times it happens when your game master says, I'll allow it, you know?
No, traditionally, I mean, me as a game master, like, usually, like, I will allow rule bending or breaking if it doesn't offer a strategic advantage. Like, I want to add flair to this, or, like, these two or if it's creative. If it's real creative, I'm like, you know what? Let's go with it. Who cares? You know, because the games are supposed to be fun. I mean, I understand that that's a personal thing. There are different types of RPGs. There are groups that play political games, Game of Thrones type stuff. There's groups that play mercenary, you know, action, adventure, horror. So each, you know, what I'm saying may not fit your particular play style or your play group. Some groups are very structured, and that's how that works. But for me, like, we're all playing for fun. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
Play a player's enjoyment.
100%. The enjoyment of the game, it really does boil down to, you know, what you're going to allow. If somebody wants to do something that you think is going to be really fun, and like you said, if it doesn't offer a strategic advantage in a way that especially affects the story, I mean, I would say even in a crazy fight that is not necessarily plot sensitive, I'm sure a lot more game masters are going to be a little bit more lenient when it comes to things like that, although they also have to realize that if they allow it once, players are going to ask for it again. So you got to look out for that backlash of, now it's an important fight and you let them do this.
Yeah. But, you know, those of you that don't play, you know, watch movies, TV, anime, read books even, like, to better explain it to you, I'll turn to a movie like Pacific Rim. In Pacific Rim, the first 5 minutes, like, look, these monsters came out of here. Like, we built giant robots to fight them. This is what we do now. Like, we built walls, it didn't fucking work. Like, let's enjoy your movie. Like, it sets the rules to the world right there. Like, if you're expecting realism, if you want some serious explanations of why this is happening, like, we ain't got time for that. We want to watch some robots fighting some monsters. We're just gonna get ready. And there's the rules that it set, like the rule of cool. Like, it doesn't matter how these things really work. Like, doesn't matter how we build giant robots. Doesn't matter where these monsters come from. Let's just go into it. And some things have long, entire chapters, entire sections of the movie dedicated to explaining, like, why this is happening, how this is happening, what the specifics are, like trying to make time travel scientific and stuff instead of like Doc Brown being like, well, I slapped that thing into the DeLorean and now we're going.
Absolutely. Some of the things to bring up some examples of rule of cool versus practicality, specifically to the one guy who asked, his question was, not the rule of cool, but he wanted to know about specifically about melee. I had another guy who was interested in infantry, things of that nature. They're brought up in several books, and it does beg the question, can you practically use infantry and melee between behemoth tanks, like bipedal behemoth tanks?
Practically, like, no, in my opinion. But game mechanically, oh yeah, I'll hit someone with a tree. I don't care. I'm not gonna be like, well, I could shoot this guy with my small laser, or I could just take a swing and see what happens. Like, why not? or infantry, infantry's a little more complicated because traditionally, like, maybe if you're running a merc company and you have like a unit of infantry, it's one of the things you can purchase, and that they do things. There are applicable rules for them, things they can do, not just in combat. There are vehicles they could have, the recovery and repair vehicles, salvage vehicles for after the battle, repairing during, laying traps. You know what I mean? Like, realistically, you blow up a canyon with some battle mechs in it, I don't care how many tons they are, rocks win. A tree won't win, but a rock will win. A big enough one.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right. And back to the rule of cool again, they built mechs with, with melee weapons ingrained.
Hatchet man, axe man.
Yeah, these are things that exist. This is, and I'm gonna pull one up right now. Let's see, infantry art. This is, I think, a MechWarrior Online image, but we'll go ahead and. So here's your Hatchet Man, X-Man, whatever. This guy's actually got two of them. It's kind of funny, but what is the practicality versus the rule of cool of this guy coming at you? He's got two axes. Obviously, he's got some weapons as well, lasers, etc. He's coming up at you. He's probably running, what do they move average? About 70, 80 kilometers an hour for the really fast ones. Maybe 40 to 50 for the slower ones. You're running yourself.
Hatchet men, like, just the Hatchet men, like the base Hatchet men, the standard, I believe it was developed right before the Crane Invasion. I think, like, it was like one of the new FedCom mechs. Slow. It's badly armed compared to other mechs in its 45. I believe it's 45-ton class. Does have jump jets, but there's really nothing great about it. It's a pretty crappy mech, like, in comparison to other ones in its class. But you got the hatchet, so the rule of cool does make it better, just because it looks cooler.
And there you go. And the practicality there of having a slow mech wielding. I can't talk. I'm trying to use too many different, vowels in a sentence. So you've got this slow axe wielding mech running up on a dude who's got autocannons, lasers, what have you. Is it practical, or is it just rule of cool for that to exist? Is something I'd like to ask.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's a designer issue. Like, there are a lot of mechs that have been designed, and you can design your own for the community. But
Yep.
the Hatchet Man is right out of some of the older BattleTech novels, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it's the mech that Kai, Alalio Lau piloted when he. Speaking of bringing it all together, I think it's the mech he piloted when he brought down the canyon on those Jade Falcons.
I would have to look that up.
The full head ejection.
Yeah, you know what? I can't remember. Kai Liao. Yeah, I actually recently read this. Jade Falcon. I don't remember what he was piloting. You're right. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick.
I don't know. I don't know for a fact if that was the first appearance of the mech or not. But
I'm sure not.
That was the mech he was piloting.
I thought that he piloted a Centurion.
He does.
Okay.
Centurion, but in that exact scenario, there was like a shipping thing, something they couldn't get it there in time because he pilots a specific Centurion. He pilots his dad's Centurion.
Right. Okay.
Solaris. So he couldn't get there in time. He was piloting the Hatchet Man.
Yenlo Wang. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I actually didn't sign any of that. I'm trying to sign it now.
I'm sorry. You're trying to what?
I said I'm a full nerd. I did all that from memory. I'm about to Sarna it now because
No, I was Sarna-ing it, and I actually was really impressed. This is kind of an aside. I just got a whole bunch of BattleTech record sheets, and they actually have Yenlo Wang in them. Kai's personal Centurion, or his dad's, whatever you have. But yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for 5 more tons, like, is the difference between a Hatchet Man and a legendary mech.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's just not that great of mech.
You're absolutely right.
Oh yeah, 1 autocannon, 2 medium lasers, and a hatchet, and it's super slow. It's just not fantastic.
Yeah, and I can't figure out if that's what he used in that story. But either way, that's not the most important thing.
I'm almost 100% sure. Didn't think of.
I think you're right now that I think about it, because I'm pretty sure he hit one with his X and then basically just exploded his mech.
No, all his weapons were gone. Yeah.
His weapons weren't gone. I don't think. I think he just knew that he was screwed.
Yeah,
so he says. So he.
Elementals right before that.
Is that what it was?
By the way, I have not read this book in 15 years.
Yeah.
He fought elementals previously.
Okay, is that what it was? So all he had was his hatchet left. And I remember he called them up. He said, "Hey, I'll take you all on. Let's go."
Right, but one of the only reasons he got away with it is because the Hatchet Man has a full head ejection because he had a passenger with him. But that's
right.
Aside.
The Doctor.
It's not a great mech, even though an amazing pilot can do some great things with it. Same as anything or any game. Like, if your army is not as good as your opponent's army, but you're a better player,
right?
You can still win. And you can do some amazing things with a mech with a hatchet, and infantry. Infantry, another, just in general, or a melee weapon. All these things. But it's about skill. You know what I mean? You can't take infantry and melee-based mechs that are slow and expect just to go head on. You gotta be creative. You gotta be smart. It's gotta be worked into your strategy.
I totally agree.
Take an infantry-based company or battalion or whatever and plan your strategy around that and make it very effective, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you there. I think it's very possible for infantry to play an integral part in a battle. I mean, if you look at the Great Death Legion, come on, they were like the most famous guys for doing that. Like, that was their bread and butter. Is hey, let's go take some crap because we don't have any mechs. But we want those 3 mechs, so let's blow up 5 mechs to steal these 2.
But even in those books, there's a rule of cool versus realism. I know those were like some of the first books, but the fact is that spoiler. I don't know if y'all want spoilers.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bleaching books. There's a point where he faces down a locust with a whatchamacallit missile, a heat missile,
An Inferno rocket launcher, yes sir.
A rocket launcher. Now, what does a locust have on it? A locust has the minimum amount of heat sinks, which is 10. A locust also has machine guns and no weapons that pretty much generate heat. Like, what's he gonna do? Yeah, he's gonna shoot the thing. It'll be fine. It's got heat sinks. It's an Inferno missile. It does like no damage. It just does heat damage. Like,
but according to the lore, it generates enough heat. Every single mech generates enough heat just by operating to make themselves uncomfortable. That is the lore. That is the idea behind these, for some reason, these fusion reaction engines that they're using, that they generate heat just by existing. So, I mean, if you go by, oh, it's overheating in the game and ready to shut down, that's not what they're trying to say with that. What they're trying to say is these guys are wearing bikinis and Speedos inside these things with cooling vests.
But you know, Inferno missiles aren't rare. You can load a whole thing of them. Like, you can hit a mech with 20 Inferno missiles, and sometimes it'll overheat, sometimes it won't. Like,
it depends on which platform. This comes back to rule of cool.
You hit a locust with like 20 Inferno missiles, it probably would be borderline overheat. Based on the mechanics that they have set out.
Well, the other, to be fair, point is that the pilot that he was facing had an intense fear of being burned alive. Lori Kalmar, whose parents died in a fire, was intensely, deathly afraid of dying in a fire. So let's be honest, he used a little bit of psychological warfare, a little bit of plot armor, a little bit of rule of cool to stop this one.
They did. I mean, there is some justification to that, but the fact is, he would have been fine. Like,
she probably would have been just fine. You're absolutely right. She probably could have just stepped on him, taken the missile shot, been like, "Wow, it's really freaking hot in here."
Yeah.
It was Lori Kalmar, great. You know what? I'm gonna give spoilers if I keep going this way, but yeah.
I just wanted to talk about that one specific because it does. I know.
It was Grayson Carlisle holding the Inferno launcher. Yeah.
That's been a thing on the boards for a long time. And it's just something I want to talk about. This kind of is brought up often.
Oh, I could go on all day about that topic. I totally agree with you. But
that's a very prominent one, and we couldn't get through this conversation without bringing it up. But
no,
yeah.
Absolutely. But what it boils down to for me. Rule of cool, where do you draw the line? I know that was kind of your original question, and I really had to get into it to start thinking about an answer for that. But where do you draw the line with the rule of cool? And I guess for me, again, it depends on the medium. If we're talking about a show, if we're talking about a game, if we're talking about an RPG, if we're talking about a tabletop, it's going to be different for every medium to me. It's going to be different for every scenario to me. But I think ultimately, if rule of cool does not break the game, if it does not break the show or the plot or whatever, I think you can get away with a lot.
You can, but you notice how as soon as I brought that up, you started justifying it by giving realistic reasons why it wasn't unrealistic. You were like, no, this, and this. I'm not saying your reasons are wrong, but obviously it matters to you that it was a more realistic scenario than an unrealistic.
You're right. And the problem with answering this question is that it's going to be so absolutely subjective to every different person. I mean, you personally may care more about something being cool than somebody like me. And I'm like, oh, well, I want this to be more realistic. And then, you know, the artist in the moment, whether that artist is the player, the game master, the writer, the whatever, the artist of the rule of cool action has to be the one to draw the line. And then, it might be the game master drawing the line for a player or whatever. But you've got to draw your own lines on that one, and that's why it's really hard to actually answer that, because you're absolutely right. Yeah. There's tons of things that I would say, oh, that's rule of cool, but yeah, then I'm going to try and justify it to make it seem real. Like, how could that actually happen? Because to me, being more realistic and outrageous is more cool. That's my line.
Yeah, I just think that what you're saying is true, even from the get-go. I mean, I feel like people like us, people that play things like video games, Magic the Gathering, Battletech, D&D, watch fantasy, watch sci-fi. There are people that will turn on a show, and as soon as they see a spaceship or an alien or a robot or anything that is not The Sopranos, they go to another channel. It doesn't they're interested. They want CSI. They want NYPD Blue. They want that's their type of show. They don't want fantasy. They don't want sci-fi. They don't want anything that's not realistic.
But the rule of cool exists in that world too. The cop who walks onto the crime scene every single time, whipping off his sunglasses. What do we got here? I mean, that's the quintessential cop show. That doesn't happen in real life.
And they're willing to disbelieve that. They're willing to believe that they know that police don't really act like that, or that firefighters don't act like that, or that people in the ER don't act like that. But they're willing to suspend disbelief for that. But as soon as there's an elf, they're like, no, this is unrealistic. That's where their line is. It's ridiculous to me, but that's where their line is. Like, I only watch realistic shows. You're like, well, do you?
Yeah, like you watch CSI. You don't.
There's no way those people in Friends can afford that apartment. They have day jobs.
It was rent controlled.
Not to mention I've been to New York, and the demographics of the New Yorkers don't look like that.
No, not at all. But to be fair, and I don't want to defend Friends too much, but they did say in like the second or third episode that the apartment was Monica's grandma's or something, and if anybody called, that she was still around.
They're showing Chandler move across the street, and he's the struggling actor, and
there's no way the two of them afforded that apartment. No way.
But I only watch realistic.
Nope. Only realistic.
For me, I get bothered when a product, a show, a movie, a book makes its rules and then breaks its own. That's the only really thing that bothers me. If you want to start your book or show with the most wildest, crazy thing, all right, this is how the world works. These are how the mechanics are. People will eat cupcakes and they get superpowers. I'm like, all right, sure,
cool.
Let's go for this. Let's go through this cupcake eating superhero world. Yeah, and then if later someone eats a cupcake and doesn't get superpowers, I'm like, wait a minute. You said earlier.
Hey, what are you trying to pull here?
But I mean, I'm willing to go along for whatever ride you give me.
But and that actually brings up another good point that I think is kind of funny is the show The Boys. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, love The Boys. Not caught up on the last season.
Okay, no spoilers there. But I believe in whatever season was the last season, they're talking about developing. Not the last season, the one before. Are you?
I literally.
No, I'm not even talking about. I'm not talking about the current season. I'm talking about past seasons. Are we okay to talk about past seasons?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I mean,
in past seasons, they are developing this drug, the V or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
To
a big part of the first season, so if you've seen the show at all.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be. You're blowing up over here. I'm not spoiling anything.
It was just that I was like, don't talk about the last season, and then you're like, in the last season.
What I said was not the last season, sir. The season before last. And by last season, I meant 3, not 4,
No,
right?
I got you. It's just the way
Yes.
it's
No, I got it now. I get it now. I got it. Okay, let's continue. So we know they're developing this to give to people. So what breaks their own rules in your cupcake scenario, I think, is actually pretty apt. Is getting this drug will either kill you, give you something horrendous, or make you Superman. You know, I mean, like, how do you determine how that works? Like, that's kind of a crazy rule here. You're saying I'm going to go inject myself and I can become the Human Torch, but I feel all the fire. Or, you know.
Yeah, but that's the rules of their world, and I'm willing to accept that. The Boys
Okay.
is a good show.
Oh, it's a great
If
show.
they're easily offended, I wouldn't recommend. But
No, that is not. That is a mature audiences and thick-skinned audience show. You know, I mean, it's based off of a graphic novel, and those are rarely Gentile.
well, they can be. I mean,
I
depends.
said rarely. I didn't say never.
No, they're great graphic novels.
Oh no, they're all great. There's very few that I've read that aren't great, but they're usually very in your face. In my
We'll
experience.
table that.
All right, we'll have to have another episode on graphic novels that I am completely talking out of my rear here because I've only read like 5.
And there are a lot out there like that, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Maybe I'm just drawn to those. Maybe that's why my experience is those, that I'm drawn to those violent, mean, crude graphic novels. But I believe...
And if you were a 16-year-old girl, you'd read 16-year-old girl graphic novels. Wide, you know.
You're right. You're right.
It's an art form. It's a wide art form.
It is. It is. I'm definitely not bashing it. That is not what I mean by any way. I mean, one of my favorite movie series was actually one of the first to be shot as accurate to the graphic novel as possible. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I mean, Sin City was pretty close.
That's the one. Ding, ding, ding. Winner,
Was
winner.
pretty close.
Sin City. That was it. Sin City, that series.
One.
You nailed it in one, bro. You got it. Like, off the bat. And I love it because that opening scene with, what was it? Oh, you're going to flame me for even mentioning this name now. Because of last time. It was Josh Hartnett, and I don't remember who the female... What did I just do? Oh, crap. I hit a button. Okay, we're good. Josh Hartnett and whoever the female of that scene was, what I was so impressed by after I learned this was that the entire movie only got made because they nailed that scene. Because was it Rodriguez that wrote it?
Robert Rodriguez? Did he do Sin City?
Who did Sin City?
Tom Miller was the original.
Yes, Robert Miller. Thank you. Miller was the author. Rodriguez was the director. And if they he basically had shut down a ton of offers to shoot that movie until they presented him with that opening scene, and he said, "If you do the rest of the movie like this, I'm on board." But they killed it. Anyways, that's just a fun fact for me.
It was a different time. I mean, 2005, 3 years before Iron Man. You know, they just didn't make movies out of comic books. It was a very interesting thing when Sin City came out.
That's not a factual statement, Blade.
Blade, yeah. I mean, the original Superman in the 70s and 80s, too.
I'm saying...
Punisher movies before Sin City and a couple of Hulks, but none of them were great.
Batman.
See.
They don't just... Anyways, the point is the fact that they nailed that stylistic of black and white with some color, of the dialogue, of the filmography. That's actually one of my all-time favorite films for how it was done, not necessarily for the actual movie itself. But anyways, I believe you wanted to get into a segment today about some games or something. Is that what we talked about?
Oh yeah, I want to do it. Are we playing or not? But I mean, I'm right now. I'm like, so this.
That's fine. We'll keep this going. Let's
I
keep
totally
this going.
forgot the sequel came out in 2014, and it just wasn't as good.
It wasn't. I agree with you. I saw the sequel. I was very excited for the sequel, similar to another of my favorite franchises, 300, where the first movie nailed it, killed it, was amazing. They used the same cinematography styles as the originals. They used the same, in some instances, the same actors, the same, and it just these follow-ups have just landed on their face. And don't get me wrong, I love Clive Owen. I think that really everybody they got in the sequel was amazing. His love interest, I just so many good things about the movie. But you're right, it just was not.
It wasn't bad though.
It wasn't bad, but it was.
300 nor the second Sin City, in my opinion, were bad movies.
No, they were good movies. Yeah.
The original.
No, and I think that's part of the problem with the human brain. You know, I mean, the first time you eat the best food you'll ever eat will be the best time you ever ate the best food you'll ever eat.
Well, I think that's also a problem now that we have with stuff they're coming out with now. Even they've realized that. Like Hollywood has realized that, and that's why the first movie of the new series of Star Wars movies is just a remake of A New Hope. It's got the same beats. It's the same, you know what I mean? It's very close to A New Hope because they know we say we want new things, but we really just want the same old thing.
That's hard for me to argue with because
I know, and it sucks. I don't want to be making that argument either because I don't think I want the same thing again. But then I watch something like that one, whatever it is, The Force Awakens, and I'm like, it's probably the best one of the new three. And then I'm like, well, it's just A New Hope again. But I guess I'm okay with that.
See, you're going to get me in trouble here. I'm on a completely different board with these new three movies. I think they are all garbage and should not have been made. And this is personal opinion here. You can say whatever you want. This is my personal opinion. I didn't like them. I didn't like a lot of crap. Here's your rule of cool versus practicality, okay? In the second installment of these new Star Wars, what are they doing? They're having a space battle. I believe this is where Carrie Fisher passes, and they've computer generated her into this scene, right? And she's about to warp her ship through these guys. But before that happens,
that's the Admiral. No, but Carrie Fisher.
Oh, that's right. She does die in that time frame. But that was the Admiral. Okay, I'm sorry. So the Admiral's about to warp this ship through the enemy ships to kill it. But what is happening as we approach this culmination is the enemy is firing upon them. And they're in space, and they're firing upon them in an arc. They're firing ballistic style non-smart shots in an arc in space. Not next to it. It bothered me so much.
That same scene, but my line was more like, well, wait, if warping through a ship does that much damage, why didn't they just warp a ship through the Death Star there in the first movie?
I'll give you that one too. No, I'll give you that one too.
If it causes that much damage, just kamikaze an X-wing into something.
I'm on the page there. I'm not a fan of these new Star Wars. I'm just not. I'm sorry, but
I'll tell you that's definitely a line where I drew the realism in a made-up fantasy with space magic and laser sword and space samurai. I drew my line at the wide ships through everything. That's how physics work. It just didn't make a lot of sense.
It does, and for me, it was
okay with the space magic, but I'm not okay with the ship thing.
But why am I okay with the space magic, but I'm not okay with the shots arcing?
Yeah,
I mean,
5 seconds before that happens, I believe Carrie Fisher uses the Force or Leia uses the Force to pull herself inside the ship and do some cool Jedi stuff. No problem with that, but the arcing and the arcing.
The arcing of the shots, bro. I'm done with it. I can't do this anymore. This movie sucks.
For a while, so let's get off this poor ghost. Yeah, Disney.
Hey, we're not on a strict time limit. You talk about whatever you want.
We're definitely not getting Disney sponsorship.
Hey, but I love The Mandalorian. I'm just gonna put that out there. There's almost nothing about The Mandalorian that I didn't like.
So, no, to segue, because I'm the segue king.
All right, we'll segue.
We're never going to get the love of the big company like Disney. That's not our brand anyway.
No way.
We're all about the independent content creators, the independent game creators. So I wanted to share with you 5 of my favorite independent strategy games that I think, a person that likes BattleTech would like.
Okay.
I think if you like tactics, you like strategy, you like those type of isometric games, these are your games.
Okay.
So I believe it is time for Bishop. Are you playing or not?
All right, I was gonna be the we watching or not screenshot, but here we go. We playing or nah? We playing or nah? It's time for our we playing or
I don't
nah.
want these games because I don't.
Okay, let me get back to our regular screen. I'm still getting used to this stuff. All right, hit me, Corey. What are we playing or nah this week?
All right, man. So the first game. Let me put some honorable mentions out there first.
Okay.
Some ones that didn't make the cut for various reasons. Not because they're bad games, but because, I don't know, you had to pick 5.
Yeah, but well, if you want to mention them in the next segment. Or honorable
I'll just throw a few
You do you.
out there.
All right.
So people know, let's go FTL, Faster Than Light, a great space simulator game, one of the early ones, Frostpunk, City Builder, Slay the Spire, like a sort of roguelike dungeon crawler, Into the Breach, which is a game with mechs, Time Travel, a great plot, Dwarf Fortress, one of the most underground of underground games of all time, impossible to master, but I'm trying. So those are my honorable mentions there.
Okay. Your FTL actually has an Apple app.
Oh, great! Yeah, as many people like the game as possible.
FTL Fast and Light subset games, $10 on the App Store. Wow. I don't even know anything about it, but it's already looking interesting. Anyways, all right, let's get back to the topic at hand.
All right, yeah. So number 1 on the list is I'm not sure if it's Wildermyth or Wildermyth, but it is a tactical role-playing game published by World Walker Games, released in 2019. It's on Windows. They have a Switch version. It is basically
Nintendo Switch. Okay, yeah.
procedurally generated story. The best way I could describe Wildermyth is the combat is turn-based, isometric. You have a group with you, a party, and they level up. They get skills, just like your basic, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics type thing. But the plot is procedurally generated. It is like you are playing a game with a dungeon master. Like, it's not just the combat, random scenarios happen to your characters. We're like, hey, I found this gem, like, what do you want to do with it? And you pick it up, and then your guy gets like a gem arm for the rest of the game, or he slowly starts being corrupted into a gem. Like, your characters develop relationships, they get married, they have kids, you can play. When you go on to the next adventure or next level or whatever, eventually your guys age out and their kids come in and you play as them.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and it's a one long overarching story. It's unlike anything else, let's put it that way.
What is the one that came out a while ago where you played Generations of a Society? This kind of makes me think of that. It's like there's not a lot of actual it's an entirely story-based game. There's no running around and doing things. You just make decisions
Crusader
for
Kings is like that.
maybe.
The Old World. There's a bunch of games like that.
There's okay, so maybe I'm just
But this one
oblivious.
is unlike it because it is a, metric.
This is a true RPG style. You build your character. You've got your stats, your gear, your equipment, but it is procedure based. So what you're telling me here, and again, I don't have a lot of experience with procedurally generated RPGs. So what you're telling me is that what I do determines what happens next, not a script.
Right, and what scenarios you'll be presented with are generated by an AI. So, like, this thing will happen, and then because this thing happened, this other thing will happen, and there is a story. There are story-based scenarios your characters go through based on decisions they made, and they have personalities. It is like playing. It's not as good, obviously, as playing with the Dungeon Master, but it's like the game trying to be a Dungeon Master.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if I'm buying it, but if it's put in front of me, I'll play it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you have to experience, I would say.
I'm going to give this one a yes, I would play it.
Well,
Absolutely.
It is much, I believe. I know it's on Steam, but it is definitely worth supporting.
100%, I'm going to check it out, and if it's within my budget, I'll probably give it a shot.
I'll say it does have a. It's not Game of Thrones. Don't let me say it's a lighthearted, you know what I mean, sort of funny.
I put the title screen on there so they can kind of see the art style.
Yeah, do you have it?
I already did. I already put it up there. Yeah, you're too late. You're gonna miss it if you look now.
I can't look at it. I can't look at myself. I'm looking at the list here.
I'll put it up again. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Where's?
Professional.
I just had it. Where was it? Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna put it up one more time, so you can see the art style. It's it's definitely a game that looks like it doesn't take itself too seriously based on that. It looks like a game that wants to have a little bit of fun. Definitely. Is this catered to the younger crowd? I based on the art style, I would say yes, but
I would say it is an all age game.
Okay.
It's probably too difficult for like a 7 or 8-year-old because there is strategy, there is like leveling your guys. So I would say 10 up would be good.
I guess I was more thinking content wise. Is this like a adults only or
No. I would say it's all ages. It's fun for the whole family.
Okay.
It's a game that you can get off of work and play one stage and not play for a week and come back and play a stage because it's not that intensive. There's not like side quests and stuff that you have to like remember items to do. It's just pretty relaxing, pretty chill. Can be difficult. Characters will die and you will have to replace them with other characters, especially if you're playing on the harder difficulties. It's not a cakewalk. It's not Pokemon.
Is there an end game or is this a perpetual game?
There are bosses.
Without spoilers, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, there is an overarching storyline. Monsters get tougher as you go through. It definitely. I mean, it's very loosely constructed. It's almost a roguelike sort of thing where you play through one whole. Sorry, it's my father. You play through one whole stage, and then that generation kind of retires, and you go on to the next stage, and it's a different story. But things that your previous generation had done will be brought up from time to time,
Interesting. So you actually lose the characters, and actually get new characters.
You can bring characters back too.
Wait, what?
Like, you pay a certain amount of whatever points. I can't remember exactly how. But your best characters go to like a Hall of Fame type thing, and when you start a new stage, you can bring one of them out at a time.
Really? What? How's that? Where they just magically resurrect them?
I'm not actually sure.
Okay, if you don't know, that's fine. I don't need to. I was just curious. Again, this is definitely one I'm gonna give a look at. I think you should too, viewerverse out there. This sounds like something that y'all should look into.
Okay, for this next one, I know don't smoke kids, it's bad, but I have to pull out a cigarette for this one because it is completely in the opposite direction.
All right, what's the title? I'm gonna look up some images.
And you know,
What's the?
As you can get.
I need a title so I can look up some images.
Darkest Dungeon.
Darkest Dungeon. Oh, it looks like they've already got a 2. This was a Kickstarter. This is interesting. Let me find some good. Okay, here's another. Okay, so this is another indie game.
These are all indie games.
These are all indie games. Great. Okay.
Put aside the AA, the AAA stuff. Screw Disney. Don't sue me, Disney. I love you.
Don't sue me, Disney. I love you.
But putting those guys aside for now, we're focusing on the small studios, the independent studios, and ignoring the fact that some of these games are published by big companies. You need the big guys, but they're designed and developed by small guys. Darkest Dungeons by Red Hook Studios. They're coming out with a new one.
I feel like I've heard Red Hook.
Yeah, it is a.
What else have they done?
It is a gothic. I think just Darkest Dungeon. Oh, they did. What did they do?
I feel like I've heard that name before. Here we go. I'm gonna pull up the Darkest Dungeon. Nah, I don't know that one. Anyways, so here is the title for Darkest Dungeon with the bandit-looking dude with his, scarf over his mouth and his gun and his sword, and you've got the old medicine man looking, stork looking dude, and what actually kind of looks like a machine person that looks like a robot.
Yeah, so Darkest Dungeon is a game. It's roguelike, turn-based, side-scrolling, obviously, like not a isometric one.
Okay.
It is a game for masochists. You throw yourself headlong, dungeon after dungeon with your group, slowly leveling them up as they not only die, but they have a fear or insanity meter too.
Wait, what?
In a dungeon, the crazier they go, and some of them go real crazy.
Really?
Up the town where you're based in, with facilities, some to cure the insanity, some to heal people, some to level them up. So it is both, there's a strategy aspect as you build the town up, and a tactics aspect as in the actual combat. The combat is very tactics oriented. How you layer attacks. Certain people can only attack certain positions with certain attacks. It is not for the weak of heart or or cowards. Let's just put it that way. It's a woman's or a man's game. You know what I mean? Like a real human being's game. If you're in between, you gotta have some fortitude.
Way to protect yourself there. I admire that.
But when you win, you feel it. There ain't nothing like conquering a level in Darkest Dungeon after you banged your head against the wall for an hour. It's a hard to explain feeling.
Okay, so I'm getting the vibe that this is kind of a mix between like your I'm blanking on it. There was a zombie game that came out on Xbox. Day of No, what was it?
Is it the town builder where
zombies? No, it was Xbox where this was a zombie game. It was a third person, different selectable characters, and characters died, and when they died, they real died. It was Day of Defeat? No, that's not right.
There's quite a few zombie games, and a lot of them are not quality. There's some quality ones.
State of Decay, that's the one. I had to look it up. State of Decay 1 is one of my all-time favorite games based on how realistic they made the fear factor feel. I feel like this Dungeons, if I'm paraphrasing correctly, feels like a mixture between a Final Fantasy VII and your State of Decay.
I never played State of Decay. It is, yeah, the side scroller is very Final Fantasy. It is turns, like this guy goes, this guy goes, this guy goes. But your positioning also matters. Front, middle, last guy, and the enemy's positioning matters.
Yeah, that mattered in Final Fantasy. That's what makes me think of it.
It's very adult. It's very basically you go into the dungeon with the torch. You have a certain amount of room in your pack. It does focus on a little bit of realism. Your guys can't carry everything. You know what I mean? They can only carry what they can carry. They have weight on them. They have to camp. And the longer you're in the dungeon, the darker it gets, the crazier, the harder the enemies, and the crazier your guys get.
Interesting. And so, beating a level is what? Coming out of the dungeon?
So each level, there's like the I'm trying to remember specific, but there's a boss at the end of each like specific area. And it's not procedurally generated. You know, some of the dungeons themselves are procedurally generated.
Really?
Yeah. Like the design, the layout of them. But there's a structure. There's different bosses, and there's a story. It's not like super, Final Fantasy type story. Really, the story is just a loose structure that the mechanics of the game are focused on. The mechanics are the star of the ship. You know what I mean?
Right.
Crawling.
So I'm looking at a screen right here that's supposed to be gameplay. I've got 4 heroes and 4 bone zombies, whatever. They're all 2D essentially, and this is what we're looking at throughout the game. Is that what you're referring to? Is these battles are basically?
That is a combat scene, right?
Right. Correct.
So you can only bring 4 people into the dungeon, but by as soon as you get most of the facilities going in your town, you'll have a rotating group of 20, 30 guys that you go in with 4, 2 or 3 come out. 2 of them are crazy. They got to spend some time in the mental institution. You got to go back in. You got to grab 4 new people. You know what I mean?
Okay. And it might take all 20 of these people to get through the dungeon.
Yeah, multiple classes, you do runs. You go in and you try to get to the objective. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't, and you have to go in again. But each dungeon has a specific objective. And sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't.
Okay. I'm gonna say I'm hesitant if I walked up on this game without having heard anything about it, I'm probably going to pass. But with your enthusiasm, this is something I think I would still give a thumbs up to. I'm going to give it a shot,
Yeah, it definitely... Wildmount is a game, or Wildermount is a game...
Wildermount, yeah.
It's a completely different, good vibes thing. This is definitely a game that you have to have the right type of personality to play, I feel. So it's not for everybody.
Sure.
I understand.
Understood.
To change veins completely from from that specific, those are both really kind of similar.
Sure.
To the type of game. Type in Football Manager.
Oh, God. I feel like I've actually heard of this one.
This is from Sports Interactive. They've been doing this a long time. Some people call it Spreadsheet Manager. To me, you basically run a soccer team. Talk about realism. You deal with owners, you move, you can play any soccer team in the world. Every soccer player in the world's in this game. You get recruits, you get training, you guys get better, you can trade them, you can buy them. It is legitimately actually running a soccer team, down to the minute details. What languages the players speak, where they're from, the specific details about each made-up character or real character. You can play this game infinitely. Get it and run the team till the year 3000. You know, like season after season after season, like building your team from the ranks all the way to the European Championships. Now you don't actually play the games. When you play the soccer games, they are simulated, and the players play based on the strategy that you created beforehand. You can have plays, like specific plays that they run, the type of formation they use. For someone like me that really likes the strategy aspect of strategy games, and I love sports, this game was a gold mine. It's hours and hours of entertainment. Another for everybody. You will spend a lot of time looking at numbers, looking at spreadsheets, but I like it.
This actually reminds me of one I did used to play a ton. It was multiplayer. You didn't actually, even if you watched the games, I think it was just like you didn't get to play the games. You could watch the little characters play the games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and there was one on your phone that did this, and I don't remember the name of it. I don't think it was Football Manager, but maybe it was. I'm talking 8 years ago. But
Football Manager's been out since 1992, I believe.
Well, maybe maybe I did play that specific game. Regardless, I'm gonna tell you, this is the kind of game I would give a shot to. It feels a little more complex than the one I played with.
It's infinitely complex, but you can make it simpler.
I just remember the one I played, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. It was a lot more simplistic. You still had your players, you still had, their contracts and whatnot. But it was much more simplified. This seems like something that's going to be out of my wheelhouse as far as my mental capacity to spend the time to do this right. I'm not going to say that I don't think this would be a fun game to try. I think this is a game that I wouldn't have time to play.
Understandable. It is an investment. It is. It can be daunting. The amount of tabs you have, the amount of menus and everything. It is not something you can just pick up and play and feel like you're doing a good job. Now, of course, you can pick it up and play it, but you're not going to get the full experience unless you.
No, I fully agree. I think this is a game you've got to invest in. You've got to really kind of know what you're getting into. You've got to understand that world maybe a little stronger than I do. I'm not going to say that this sounds like an unfun game. I am going to give you a big nah on that one, though.
Yeah, I understand. It's definitely an investment.
Yeah, that one's just out of my wheelhouse. I think it would be fun. I think I'd never give it enough time to actually do it.
Fair. Very fair. So, next one, number 2 on my list, it's called RimWorld.
This one I feel like I've heard of too, but I know I haven't played it.
It's defined as It's an indie top-down construction and management simulation.
Okay.
Which basically means it's a base builder. You are a small group of people, like a small group of survivors that lands on this planet, and you have to build a base to survive. And then you pick one of the AIs. There's different AIs to be basically the world generator or story generator. And it will throw things at you. Bandits, random aliens, scenarios. Every single person in your group has a personality, and sometimes they don't get along, sometimes they sleep with each other, sometimes they cheat on each other, sometimes they try to murder each other or set each other on fire. You have limited control of what the people actually do. You can tell them what to guard or to build or to hunt you control specific actions, but sometimes they go rogue, and it is hilarious.
Interesting.
Every single game is different. You know what I mean? You can change the settings as to what resources are on the world, but basically you get your guys mining. You use the stones to build walls or guns or whatever you need. Then you build your base from a little hut to a fully functioning, basically space bunker. And you get more people in your group, and they die, and you can recruit people, and it's another one like Wilder Myth that it is a story generator. The game has a set of parameters, and from that and your actions, it generates a story.
Interesting. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is a revamped Fallout.
Yeah, it's very well. It is. There's some apocalyptic things. It's more stranded on an alien planet.
I just meant more the style of the game feels very Fallout 2 to me. There
are some steampunk elements to it.
I'm not talking about the steampunk aspect. I'm talking about the randomness, the craziness. I remember in Fallout, you basically do almost anything you want, even though you have your linear story. But given how long ago it came out, this seems like an upgraded version of Fallout 2.
I would say it's nothing like Fallout.
No? Okay, I'm speculating based on what I see.
It's more like a really messed up Sims.
Well, okay, Sims meets Fallout 2, maybe. I don't know. But
I can see that. But it is a base builder. Like you're building your base out. You're building. You're trying to. Your guys need food.
Is it a base defense game? Do people attack you, or are you really just managing the society?
Like, it's a base builder survivor. Like you need food. Your guys need to eat. Your guys need to stay warm. The temperature gets colder or warmer. You need air conditioning. You need refrigeration. You need heat. It's a survivor game. Like you gotta get these people to survive, and they're not helping you a lot of the time. They're trying to. They do people stuff, and you're like, I'm trying to help you, and they're just. One of them wants to kill another one. Maybe one of the guys that landed on your planet secretly a serial killer, and like he's just hiding in the base, trying to be farming and stuff, and then you find out he's a psycho.
Wow!
When he got his legs off, and he has to find a mechanical leg to replace it.
So this game was actually banned in Australia.
I know that.
It was overturned, but it was originally banned in Australia.
I mean, weird flex, but all right.
Yeah, RimWorld has had its Australian ban overturned and will now be rated R18 plus.
Oh, it is definitely R18 plus. Like, don't let the cute little pixel animation, the little cute little chibi guys fool you. They will cut off someone's leg and eat it.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, cannibal totally thing. Like each one of your guys has a personality, and you don't get to pick it. So you're like, you know what? I need a farmer. My people are gonna starve if they don't have a farmer. And the only farmer I got's a pyromaniac. I can't kick him out because he's the only farmer I got, and my people will starve if I don't have this guy. But he keeps setting fire to stuff while I'm not looking.
What the hell?
That happens all the time in this game.
He just sets fire to stuff just for the hell of it.
Oh yeah, but you can't kill him because you need a farmer.
But you can't make another farmer?
No, guys have skills. They come with their skills. They can get better. You can train the guy up, you know what I mean? But they come with a set of skills, and you only have a limited pool of guys until you get more, you know? You only start with a set amount, and then sometimes you'll find a capsule with a person in it. Sometimes someone will ask to join. Sometimes you can get a prisoner and convince them to join. But people are resources, and if they're crazy, you have to weigh it. Like, well, you know, how crazy is he? I mean, he only ate that dude's foot. Like, that's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Like, he's a great mechanic. Plus, he's a good shot. And you weren't using that foot anyway.
Wow. Okay. So, So this is a game. Obviously, I see that you can find it on Steam.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those games with an amazing community. There's mods out the wazoo.
Okay. If somebody was going to try it, if I gave this a yeah instead of a nah, would I have to go with all of the expansion packs, or would I start with the vanilla game?
The vanilla game itself is fine. I don't even think I myself have all the expansions. Um, and I definitely haven't tried the mods. Um, but the vanilla game itself is a ride. It's a wild ride. Like it's not hard to get into. It's not very complicated. On a base level. Obviously, there's people that can do amazing things when they take the time to build bases in any base builder. But on a basic level, it's not something you're gonna have to invest 100 hours in to really learn the mechanics. You'll get them pretty quickly, and then your first couple playthroughs, you'll be surprised quite a bit. You'll be like, "Wow, I didn't know like that could happen. I didn't know that could happen." I think that's part of the fun of it, But the replayability is cool too. When you're like, "All right, all my guys died," and usually that's how it ends. I'm gonna let you know right now. You're not usually gonna win.
You're probably going to lose this one.
Grimworld is a game where you play it and you play it until society collapses and all your people die.
Okay.
And then you start over and play it again, and you're like, "Oh, and everyone's gonna die this time."
Interesting. Apparently, there's
It's not a game you play to win. It's a game you play to see how long you can starve off everyone dying in a crazy way.
interesting. See, there's slavery. There's organ harvesting. This is a very adult game. Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to give this one a yeah. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. I'm actually probably going to actually buy this one because I'm very curious now.
Another cool thing about RimWorld, for those of you with little time and people that try to watch shows while they're playing, there are a lot of auto assist features where you can set your guy's schedule and be like, "I want to do this, 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 and this," and then just watch a show as they run around on your computer screen. And then look over and be like, "Oh, they burned down half of this building. Okay, let me fix that." You don't have to give it your full attention a lot of the time. It runs on autopilot.
Okay.
If you
Like I said, I think I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know if I'm going to go with DLCs yet or not. If you have any suggestions on that, feel free to let me know. Feel free to let us know. Like and comment with some tips and tricks, right? I don't know.
Yeah, there's tons of. Once you just play it with the vanilla and then see, I know there's everything from turning it into medieval time, to turning it to different, basic, entirely different settings. Just using the game's basic mechanics and frameworks to turn it into almost a completely different game.
Okay.
And then the from what I understand, are very mod friendly. So there's a lot of stuff out there you can do with RimWorld.
Okay. Cool. I like it. Giving a thumbs up on that one. Here, thumbs up. You can actually see it.
The number one on the list, if you have played the previous four, or if you're familiar with the previous four, I said, is kind of probably going to throw you for a loop, because I'm sure people watching this, they heard this, "Oh, I kind of know what type of game Corey likes. Open-ended, flexible." And the number one game on my list, the number one indie tactical or strategy game on my list, is a game called The Banner Saga, which is nothing like that. It is a 3-part. It's really 3 games. They released it in 3 different parts: Banner Saga 1, 2, and 3. That form one long story. It is beautifully drawn. It is everything from a visual novel to a tactical game to a strategy game where you control, where you manage your groups, a mercenary groups, almost, resources, to a Final Fantasy Tactics type combat thing, to an RPG. It's all of these things in one. And
wait, what?
They come together to form an amazing story about a group of people traveling across this world during the Norse Ragnarok. Like the end of days has come. Like the giant wolf has come to fight Thor and destroy the world, and these people live in this world, and they can't do crap about it because they're people and the gods are fighting. And they're just traveling you're just traveling with this group of people that you are the leader of, trying to keep them alive as you and your main group of heroes walks across this world trying to find salvation. Beautifully drawn, beautifully written, beautiful music. One of the best, not indie games, one of the best games I have ever played.
Okay. So the battle style seems to be very, like you said, is that tactics. You said there's got to be some harvesting and what, base building aspects to it, or
Not base building, but you travel with your group across the world, and they get bigger and smaller. You have a certain number of warriors, a certain number of civilians. You'll be asked to make decisions because you are the leader. Like, should I do this or should I do this? Should we take shelter here? Should we do that? Oh, you messed up. This dude's dead and you lost 10 people. Like, oh, you got, like, you make real decisions with hard actions, and it's not Mass Effect. There is no good or evil decision. There's no, I'm going to play a dick and do this. I'm going to play a good person and do this.
right? Your alignment doesn't change. It is just what you decided.
Do we rob these people for food? Yes. Alright, you're an asshole and your people live. No. You're a good guy and your people die. That's the kind of decisions you have. Like, there is no right or wrong. There is, you do this and this guy dies, or you do that and those people die. That is how your decisions are.
Interesting. I'm gonna say I'm interested. This one sounds like a go for me. It sounds like one I may not even be able to get to time-wise, but the interesting factor is certainly there. I'm gonna give this one 2 thumbs up, and actually I really do want. So where do you? Is this one another Steam or is this Nintendo Switch? Like, what is this one?
Oh, I believe originally it was a computer game. It's definitely on Steam. You can buy them all, the Banner Saga trilogy. But I believe it is. I know it's at least on PlayStation. It's a wide. This game is very, very well reviewed and very, it gets the appropriate amount of attention, at least. It's in the Epic Game Store. It's on Steam. It's on PlayStation. I would hope it's on Xbox, but don't quote me on that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's on Xbox or not. Banner Saga. I'm gonna have to look it up because now I'm curious. Xbox? It's on the Xbox One. Okay, yeah.
Fantastic.
And it's actually that's used. Okay, I was gonna say it's actually affordable. No. It is normal game price.
Well, for the trilogy, but
yes.
I said, the game came out in 3 parts. It is 3 games. Like, so even if it's like you're like looking at it and you're like, oh, I thought it'd be cheaper. It's the price of a game,
right?
Instead of like sale for being an older game. It's still 3 games. It's not 1 game. It's like getting Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3. Like, it is 3 different games that all connect. That you can carry certain things over, and it is one long story.
Oh, so they do connect, kind of like Mass Effect.
Yes.
Okay.
They're one long story.
I'm gonna give this one a yeah. Yeah, I think I already said that, but it's. I'm very interested. I'm gonna look into. I'm start adding these to my wish list. That's really what I'm doing. I'm adding these. The ones that I'm gonna play, I'm adding my wish list. They go on sale. I'm gonna pop them. If I have a good month, I'll pop them. I got a free time, I'll grab one. But I'm gonna add these so I don't forget them. But no, I think these are all pretty great titles. The only one that I'm really would not make an effort to go jump on was the Football Manager. And that's more for personal reasons than the fact that I don't think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I will give you this warning about Banner Saga. So, if you're buying it, make sure you know what time Steph gets home, because you do not want her to catch you crying and have to explain to her why you're crying at a video game. Because it's like that. It's a
That's
very
not gonna happen.
story.
I'm not going to cry during a video
well
game.
written.
Okay. I'm still not going to cry during a video game. Come on.
Oh yeah, man, it's a tearjerker.
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm not going to cry during a video game. That's all I'm saying. I might. Who knows? You know, break my own rules. You know, realism versus rule of cool. See what I did there for a full circle? Boom.
Yeah. Way a segue back.
So hey, do you have any call outs of the week?
Oh yeah, shout out for the week, man. You want to go first?
Actually, I do. I don't have the media up right now, but I want to give a shout out to this. I'm not sure what to phrase them as. A developer. Godspar is a group that I just recently learned about. They have a really interesting version of BattleTech that they have developed for themselves. They've turned it into a gladiatorial RPG mod, essentially, for tabletop. This is like one of the first mods that I've seen for a tabletop game. Yeah, I'm really interested in learning how to do it. I'm really interested in streaming it, and we're going to have some of that content on this show in the future. But my big shout out is to Godspar and their what is it? I'm blanking so hard, and I can't bring up the page because I'm using you for Discord there. It is BattleTech Electrodome. Let's see if that comes up and make sure I'm saying that right. BattleTech Electrodome. You know, why don't I just look up Godspar's website?
Beyond Electrodome.
Yeah, there it is.
Godspar Games.
Yes, that is the one.
Handle this, Bishop. So what is this thing?
This is literally it's a mod for your BattleTech Destiny and RPG. You know, it's run off of BattleTech Destiny rules. They have assured me that it is very portable to your BattleTech Classic. I think it's interesting because basically what we're doing is we're taking a tabletop game and adding things to it that feel like you're modding the game as if it were a computer game. You know, he's adding different things, different features, different functionalities, but all within the same realm, that it's not a completely crazy thing that can't be done. And in fact, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to learn this game, and I'm going to stream this game.
Yeah, that's something people should be aware of. We are going to try to, not sure how the logistics will work yet, but we are going to try to get this specific system in front of you people out there on the computer screen. And so we'll all see how it works together, I suppose.
We're going to try. But yeah, I'm getting myself some of the stuff that we need to make this work. But that is something I literally found it this week. He posted the free PDF on Facebook. This is a free BattleTech tabletop system that you're very welcome to grab. It's free. I'm very excited to learn more about it. And when we learn more about it, we'll tell you more about it. How about you?
My shout out for the week is an anime. It's
okay.
An anime called Overlord.
Say that again?
Season on Crunchyroll. Have you heard of it, Bishop?
No, say that again. I missed the title.
Overlord.
Overlord. God, I've heard of it. I don't know that I've seen it.
It is, I mean, it might start out sort of a similar story, this Suzuki thing, you know, guy or girl gets transported to this fantasy world and blah. But this one has a unique spin in that this guy gets transported in the body of a lich. And as he is the villain. And he gets transported with a bunch of NPCs. And they serve him, and they're all bad guys. Like they are not the good heroes of the story. He thinks he is. Everyone that works for him knows they're a bad guy, and he's trying to justify his actions, but really he's turning into a lich. He is losing his soul, and it's just a very interesting take. And very rarely in media do you get a story from the bad guy's perspective. Like there are humans in this world, and you get them sort of the side characters and stuff, but they're mainly focused on how they interact with him. It's just a very interesting take. It produces some comedy. It's definitely a more serious. There's not like nudity in it or anything, but it's definitely like 14 plus. Sort of a older, you know, type anime for that kind of audience. But it provides a unique perspective. The new season just dropped, and it is streaming on Crunchyroll at least. Week by week as it comes out. So shout out to season 4 Overlord. You want to catch up on it? The other 3 seasons are available. I don't know, other places.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that this is a story about a dude who gets, if I'm saying this right, Inuyasha'd into a lich body.
Sword Art Online, whatever you want to call it.
Sword Art Online. I don't know that one as well, so I can't make that reference. But it's literally a dude from the real world gets teleported out of the real world into the body of a lich.
No, I think he's playing like a World of Warcraft type game, and his character's a lich, and so
they combine. Okay.
It's supposed to end. They're like shutting down World of Warcraft or whatever the analog is of the game, and instead of the game shutting down, he gets transported to this fantasy world with all his guilds like NPCs, and they were like the monster guild or whatever. So they're all like vampires and monsters, and so the humans in that world, when this big, arena castle citadel with the Lich King and a bunch of his vampire lackeys show up, obviously jump to some conclusions.
Okay, well, this is one that I will probably take a look at as well. I like that. It sounds good. We're going to definitely learn more about this Beyond Electrodome as well. We've got some equipment coming in here in the next couple of weeks that hopefully we'll start being able to learn about some tabletop remote play. I know other people have done it successfully. I have not, but I'm very interested to get it going. And finally going to get back into some painting. I don't know if my camera's good enough for that, but there's your king crab. So I'm going to do a little bit of content on that as well. I don't know how much I'll do on the painting, but we'll do some content on some gameplay, on some painting, and hopefully we'll have another great topic to discuss next week as well.
I mean, I'm doing most of the writing, so maybe I hurt you best, but I'll get you.
No, I love it. All right, Corey. Well, I think that it's time for you to mosey on to Sleep Town. You got an earlier day than I do.
Yeah, but only because I'm an hour ahead of you. Plus it's Central Time stuff anyway.
Right. Yeah, I love this life.
Right, Bishop, I'll see you, and to all the Mercs and Space Cowboys, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. Thanks, Corey, for another great discussion, and y'all have a great evening.
Are we still on?